Hey everyone, Kyle once again, and welcome back to the next movie review. And now I'll be reviewing of another film that I liked. I liked from this year. Like I said before, there's been very few films that, like I said, like this many films I've liked this year. That's how, like I said, that's how bad this year has been, and so many shitty movies. Like I said, but there has been a few films that I've enjoyed this year. World one I just reviewed recently. Novocaine. I like that film. Pretty decent action film for what it was. I like the idea of the film, the premise. Then one of my favorite, pretty much my favorite film of the next last one I reviewed. Pretty much my favorite film of this year is, Magazine Dreams. And starting with Jonathan Majors, like I said before, how do you feel about the guy, guilty or not, whatever. But he gave such a commanding performance. So I really enjoyed Magazine Dreams. And this is another film that I also liked. Now, granted, if it is it original, no, but I do like that the two main two leads were in this film were good though. And it's actually another film that also stars Jack Quaid. So like recently, Novocaine I reviewed that starred Jack Quaid, and this is another film that starred Jack Quaid. And like I said before, Jack Quaid, who is the son of actor Dennis Quaid. So the film I'm reviewing today is it's way of a little bit of sci-fi, given with the whole premises of the film, with a little bit of thriller in it. And as of the film called of the 2025 film Companion. So like I said, yeah, released earlier this year in 2025. And it stars Sophie Thatcher, who is the main lead here as what was her name? Iris. Yeah, that's her name, Iris. Of course, funny thing is there was the song Iris from the Goo Goo Dolls that was you can hear in this movie, which it fits at Iris because of the girl's name. Which, of course, last time I heard that was at the end of Deadpool and Wolverine. I don't want the world to see me as I know. That was a good song though. But I heard that in Deadpool Wolverine, and you can hear it briefly in this film. So yeah, so Sophia Thatcher plays this girl Iris, and as a Jack Quaid plays Josh as her boyfriend. And you got other characters in this other act. Well, I'm not too familiar with the cast or the rest of the cast, but except for the last one, Rupert Friend, who I just also talked about recently in the shitty sequel Jurassic World Rebirth. He's the guy who recruits Scarlett Johansson to get these samples and does like which I predicted turns out to be a 180 bad guy. He's the one who gets eaten by the Disorus Rex. So yeah, so I recently talked about that guy recently and that shitty film. Another one I just reviewed recently, Jurassic World Rebirth. So he's in this as the guy who owns this lake house. This rich guy. But here he is like this sort of like with a Russian accent. He has this big mustache and long hair. Except like he was clean shaven in Jurassic World. So, but other than the cast members, I'm not too familiar with, and I'm not too familiar with this director either, Drew Hancock. I think this is his first big feature film that he directed. So, yeah, there's no wonder I haven't heard of this guy though. But I thought he did a decent job with this film, Drew Hancock. Um, but so and the film came out. It didn't make all that much money. It made it on a budget of what was the budget of this film? About 10 million. So it made about 36 million worldwide and about 20 million in the U.S. So it did make its budget though, but it wasn't that huge either though. You know, it's like with Novocaine, didn't that make that much money either, and neither wasn't that much either though in this film either. But it did get positive reviews from critics. It has a 6.9 on IMDb, and surprisingly, this film has a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, I do like the film, but is it worth a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes? I would disagree. Let's say I'm always disagreeing whether films or not with Rotten Tomatoes. I'm always disagreeing with that, you know. Sometimes I think Rotten Tomatoes is full of shit, and sometimes they're not though. So, but 93% Rotten Tomatoes, I don't think it's worth that because, like I said, to me, like this film is not original for me though. But okay, now, with this film, if anyone's not seen this film, there's spoilers because I can't get through this without spoiling the movie though. So, but if you haven't seen the film, I would recommend you check it out, Companion. So, spoilers going in now. So we have our characters. We have Sophie Thatcher and Jack Quaid, Iris and Josh. They're going up to meet with some people at this lake house, which the lake house is owned by Sergey, played by Rupert Friend. So, but how we open we open with these two because how they met in a grocery store, and like Jack Quaid kind of accidentally spills some oranges, and you see like with Sophie Thatcher making these little twerks, you know, like almost making the late joke of laughing. So they go up there, and there's some other people there too. There's this one there's the guy Sergey, there's this other girl named Kat, and there's these two guys who are gay. The one is guy's a little bit heavy set named Eli, and the other one his name is Patrick. So they're hanging out at this lake house, and one thing leads to another is that when Sophie is talking with the guy Sergey, the guy can't seemingly get his hands off him, if you get what I mean. So she kills him in self-defense. You know, knife through the neck. She kills him in self-defense. And so, and then as I get into spoilers, like I said, starting now, Jack Quaid, he tells Sophie, Iris, go to sleep. He tells her, go to sleep, and her eyes turn like this. So it turns out that Iris is a robot, hence companion. So it turns out that he didn't own her. He's renting her. He's renting her from this robotics company. And I will say this though, dealing with like a robot, I would say I definitely like this a lot better than Ex Machina. They was deal like also with a robot person, right? To me, I don't like Ex Machina, the one that writer Alex Garland directed. Yeah, I believe for sure he directed that. I don't like Ex Machina. I think it's a very overrated movie. That got a lot of praise. I don't get it though. To me, I think Ex Machina is an overrated movie. So I think I definitely like this a lot better than Ex Machina. In my opinion. So they tie her up, and she's asking what's going on, and Jack Quaid tells her that she's a robot, and she's looking at him like she doesn't believe that. Like she believes that she's not a robot, but he tells her, hey, what's the weather? And he tells her exactly like the exact coordinates like she said before about the weather, like how an Alexa voice would tell the weather, right? She tells the weather exactly how it is, or speak in another language. Do you know Spanish? It's like no, and he makes her with the controls on his pad. He makes her speak Spanish. So now she's questioning. She's all this, and she's questioning about it. The real reason why all this is an elaborate plan. Like the girl and the two guys, they're in on it, right? They wanted to kill Sergei, which the guy was in some business though, but they did it so they could steal his money. About 12. There's a safe behind a painting, and it's about loads of cash, and it's about $12 million. So they did all this just to get the guy's money, and so the right now there is one of the rules for these companion robots is that they can't harm anybody. It's like in their rules though, but Jack Quaid sort of like what was the term jailbroken her, which means he kind of like disabled that ability so she can do harm, like aggression, release the aggression that she has. So that's why she can do harm. So that's why, but she killed the guy, but it was in self defense. But it was part of that aggression stuff, though, right? So he kind of like disables that. And also that another part of their programming is that they cannot lie. The companions can never lie. So they keep her tied up there, and she sees the knife on the floor. She tries to cut her ropes. And Jack is telling him, hey, we can all get a cut. Well, except for Patrick. Which turns out that Patrick is also a companion. And there's like this, how they make it's like a love link, when you first activate them and you facial or whatever, or be within like 300 meters, I think. And to make the person like take interest in you, whether it's a guy or in this case or girl, right? It's like we see the story, we see how Patrick, how he programmed to first meet Eli at this Halloween party. So, so one thing leads to another. She cuts the ropes and she tries to get away. She does though, and it's a problem because well, she's gonna probably tell somebody though. But so how they're gonna do that? They have to go. So they're gonna go and get her. And so Iris is contemplating what to do. So the idea of basically is get away in that in Jack Quaid's self-driving car, but he has to also he tries to get that tablet away as well. And then with the two guys, now I know with the whole thing with the gay two guys in this film, gay, right, whatever. Although I didn't think it didn't, as how a lot of films are woke nowadays, but hey, bring that up though. But to me, I didn't see no wokeness in this. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say this as delicate as I can because I don't want to offend anybody. I didn't see any of this. There's just these two guys who, the robot guy Patrick, since they think he's a robot, it's supposed to be fake though. But Patrick says that his feelings are real for him, despite the fact that he's a robot. He thinks he has real feelings for the guy. And so when they try to get him, like Eli tackles Iris, he has a gun. And one of the listeners, he gets shot himself by the gun. And so, like, Patrick gets hurt by this, but then Jack kind of, like, tells him to go to sleep, shut himself down, until he reprograms him. But Sophie manages to get away, and he gets in the car, and also the tablet as well. And since his voice activated, she has a thing with the tablet, she can change her voice to anybody. So he kind of changes her voice to his voice, so he starts speeding off in the car. And so Patrick gets reprogrammed by Jack Quaid. Oh, he's one who thinks he's in love with him now, and tells her to go after her. And so, and the car that Sophie's driving in, Iris is driving in, it's being reported stolen, so it pulls off to the side of the road, and there's a cop there. Now, one thing I do think that I thought it was a little bit of a clever idea was that I like the fact that okay, she can speak since her program, she can speak different languages, but she cannot lie though, right? So she has to always has to tell the truth. So when the cop's coming and he breaks out of she's breaking out of the driver's side window. I do like the idea that she changes her language to German, so it's trying to confuse the cop that she doesn't speak English, but she's telling the truth about what's going on, right? But since she's speaking another language, the cop still doesn't understand, though. So I love the fact that she's telling the truth of what's going on, though, but in a different language, and the cop doesn't understand, though. So I do like that was kind of a bit of a clever thing, right? I like the fact that she's telling the truth about what's going on, but in German, but the cop doesn't understand, right? Except for when the name Sergey, the dead guy, Rupert Friend. So, oh, you know Sergey, right? So he'll only know the names, understand the names. So that was a bit of a kind of a clever idea. I like that there. But then Patrick shows up and starts beating the cop's face with his fist, and it's a little bit. I think it's a little bit CG enhancement though, but I mean it's not like you can do like a dummy head where it's obvious, right? Although I do prefer a practical that way, him just punching a dummy head though, and actual blood comes out. But listen, it's hard to do stuff like people just don't try to want to do that nowadays. So it's a little bit of a CG thing where he's punching the cop's face in, and it is R rated, so there is a little bit of that brutalness in this film. So I do appreciate it. Not PG-13, unlike Megan. That's another thing. Dealing with robots, I do think I prefer this better than Megan or Megan 2.0, which I did see, and it, put it bluntly, fucking sucked. Just like the first film fucking sucked. Same with Megan 2.0. So I'd rather watch this than Ex Machina or both the Megan movies. And Megan, both of the Megan movies were PG-13. Well, this is R-rated. So this didn't shy away on some of the brutalness. Like it shows the cop's face getting beat in and some other stuff too, though. But so if you're dealing with robots, I'd rather watch that than Ex Machina or both the Megan movies. But yeah, I did see. I saw Megan 2.0 and it sucked. So he brings her back, and put her in different clothes, right? And so, and also another part I did kind of find was funny, where once she got the tablet, right, because she has also the ability to change her intelligence level to like whatever percentage, right? So she goes to looks up her intelligence and it's at 40%, and I like the fact he's like, Josh, really? I just like her reactions. Like she's like, really, you put me only at 40%? So she goes and puts it at 100%. So that was before that though. So I did get a chuckle out of that. At first, like, Josh, really? So the girl cat sees the dead cop, while Jack tries to complicate a story to get away with it, and the girl says she's had enough. She wants to take the money and leave, and so but Jack tells Patrick to stop her. He says, "Patrick, stop her," but instead, because of the whole disarming of the whole the jailbroken thing, right? See, instead of stopping her, he goes and stabs her in the back. Basically, you told me to stop her. I like the fact that she like she's not goes and drops down that easily. She goes and does like this and feels like, oh, it's basically like, oh man, and she goes and casually sits on the couch as next to Sophie, who's turned off at this point, and she dies on the couch like so. So I like the fact she just casually, oh, I've been stabbed, and then she goes and sits on the couch and just dies like that. And so she's now back tied up at the table again, and so, and I just like how the fact that Jack Quaid, I thought why he was decent is because it's like funny in Novocaine. Two things about Novocaine, where he's the good guy and here he's the bad guy. I like the fact he goes from playing from one guy to Well, actually, this came up before. This came up before Novocaine, though. So, but being bad guy to good guy, but here he's just a slimy weasel. You know, he's a weasel. That's what he is. A douchebag of a weasel. So he did a good job at either both this and Novocaine being the good guy and the bad guy in this. So yeah, he's just a no good weasel. And I like the fact that when she gets Ira starts verbally abusing him, like how you have such a, I know everything about you, like including you have such a tiny dick. So I like that he's getting more verbally abusive, but then he goes and changes her intelligence down to 0 now, and orders her to stick her arm above the candle, and her skin's catching on fire. And so, and then they make up the story where the company, the robotics company, comes in. 2 guys, they're gonna hurl her away to be fixed, right? And so, and while Patrick, the robot guy, is in the cop's uniform, and one of the guys like recognizes, like, hey, does he look familiar to you? He does kind of look familiar. And then he goes and tells Jack Quaid that with Iris, when we bring her back, we need to run the footage of everything from her. And Jack's like, what? What footage? Oh yeah, it's kind of like an insurance policy, right? They have to run through the footage, in case of like fraud and stuff, right? So that's why it's kind of like an insurance security thing for in case of fraud and stuff, right? So they have to look for all the footage, and so, well, Jack Quaid didn't know this because he was a dumbass. Because when he got her right, he didn't read the fine print as he was signing the shit, so he did not know about it because he didn't read the damn thing. So the guy who says all this stuff, he gets shot by Patrick, and the other guy runs off into the woods. And so Patrick's going after him, and then now that since the guy's hooked Iris up, she's now rebooted, and goes after Patrick, and she kind of before the guy gets killed, she stops him and say, hey, remember Eli, right? Remember your feelings for him. And he starts remembering, and he's heartbroken that he's dead now, remembering all the nice memories of him. And he does like a self-destruct thing, but he pretty much kills himself. And the one tech guy that's still alive says, hey, can you do me a favor? And I do like the fact that she uses Patrick's voice, and one thing he tackles her, and then saying say that you're everything to me, and because like she can and she doesn't have to follow his commands anymore because the tech guy worked on her, and now she has full control of her own self. So she doesn't need to obey his orders anymore, know more of the tablet, so she's fully in control of her own self. And then she goes and kills him by like this electric corkscrew to the head. And I also do like the fact, though, beforehand, he gets, when she was getting away in the electric car, first she slams the door on his fingers, and then she gets his foot run over by the tire. I find that was kind of funny because later in Novocaine, he can't feel no pain, right? In Novocaine. So I was kind of finding that funny, because I saw Novocaine before Companion. I just find that ironic, where he gets his finger smashed and his foot run over, and he's feeling all that pain. And I kind of find that ironic, and I'm watching Novocaine where he doesn't feel pain, right? I just find that very ironic. But yeah, but then he gets his head stabbed by an electric corkscrew, and now she's in fully control of her own life now. She could be her own person. And so she gets all the money. And beforehand, while she's in the shower, her burnt about this much high, her hand and part of her arm. She basically pulls a Terminator like in T2, just goes and just tears the rest of her the burnt part of her flesh off, and now it's just her robotic hand. So she drives off in this nice Mustang, and as she's driving on the road, she's passing by another car with another companion robot that's exactly like her, but it's a blonde version of her because she's a brunette in this. So she's passing a blonde version of her, and she's kind of like smiling and waving with the robot hand, and the blonde version of her is looking like confused. And so she's driving away smiling, and so and the song that plays at the end, I know that song before. I've heard it plenty of times on the radio growing up, and so I forget the name of what the song was. So I know I've heard it plenty of times before. I'm not gonna waste time looking up. I should have done before though, but I know I've heard that song before though. That was playing as she was driving away. But yeah, I did like this. I did like this film. Now, would it be on my top list of this year? Of course it would, because there hasn't been that many good films I like that I've liked this year. And so, like, it'd be this film, Magazine Dreams, so far, Novocaine, and a wild review later on, though, the new Looney Tunes movie, The Day the Earth Blew Up. I like that film. And there hasn't been that many two good films, like I said, there's been like a handful. But overall, I think the two leads did a good job. I think Sophie Thatcher did a good job as Iris. I think Jack Quaid did a good job playing as this slimy little weasel of a boyfriend, Josh. I think he did a good job as well. I mean, the other characters. I mean, the two guys, including the one that's the robot, also the robot. Like I said, I didn't think wasn't that woke having these two guys gay in the movie, so didn't bother me. The girl who plays Kat, or including also the guy who played Rupert, Rupert Friend from Jurassic World Rebirth. There. I mean, the rest of the supporting cast were just there, but I thought the two leads I thought did pretty good. I think the director did a pretty decent job with this film. I think this was for his first feature film. But and it says it's from the studio that made The Notebook, because it's supposed to be a sort of a little romance, but mixed in with science fiction thriller, right? But what surprised me was that the producer, where is it? Yeah, one of the producers of this movie. One of the producers of this movie, Zach Kreger. This is the guy who directed Barbarian. And he's directing the next upcoming film, Weapons. So the guy who directed Barbarian and in his next film, Weapons, he produced this film. I was like, Zach Kreger, and it's also from the creators of Barbarian, because also producing with the film Roy Lee, he also produced with Zach Kreger for Barbarian as well as I think also Weapons. So Roy Lee was helping him as well. So, but wow, Zach Kreger, who did Barbarian, which honestly I was not a fan of either. I was not a fan of Barbarian. I think that was kind of a bit of an underwhelming movie for me, disappointing. But that got a lot of praise though. But to me, it was just a disappointing movie. I wasn't a fan of Barbarian. Now, Weapons, I'm not entirely sure of though. I saw the trailers for it. Maybe interesting, but we'll see though. Maybe I'll eventually give Weapons a look. But the guy didn't direct the film. He just produced it. But I think Drew Hancock did a decent job with this film. I said with Jack Quaid and Sophie Thatcher, I think they did pretty fine as well. But I do think as far as for robots go, I think I do like this. Like I said, I do like this better than Ex Machina or Megan 2.0. Now, I thought it was kind of also a bit of a refreshing thing that you think it's another robot that's gone, like AI, gone amok, gone out of control, right? It didn't exactly play on that. So that was kind of a bit of a refreshing thing. Going the typical thing, a robot or AI that's lost control and it's out of control, killing people. No, it didn't do that. This girl who, at first she didn't know she was a robot, And then she actually just ends at the end took control of her own life. Now she's her own person, even though she has her showing off her robotic hand though. But overall, yeah, I did like this film, Companion. So yeah, so this would be one of my favorite films of this year. So, but yeah, it's just ironic, Jack Quaid in two films I like this year, this film and Novocaine. Check out Novocaine. I think Jack Quaid has been doing pretty decently, with these two films. Although honestly, I did not like Scream 5. I did not like Scream 5. So, but overall, yeah, I recommend giving it a watch. Now, will this be a film I will watch over and over again? No. It would probably be a film I watch once in a while. But I was like, hey, this film. If I sometime like down the road, like once in a while later, it's like, hey, I'll give this a watch because I like this film. That is that type of feeling, right? But overall, yeah, I did like the film. If I had to do ratings, which I usually don't do ratings, maybe I would give it about 3.5, maybe at most. But is it worth a 90 on Rotten Tomatoes? Is it worth 93% though? I would disagree with that. Give it a bit lower. Maybe I would give it like a solid maybe 70, between 70 75, to be fair. But I don't think it's not worth a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes though. Because from a 6.9 IMDb, it's not really that high compared to 93%. But overall, yeah, I did like Companion though. So I give this a watch. Give Novocaine a watch if you like Jack Quaid. So yeah, so that's Companion. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more. We'll see you next time. Later.